Right, straight up, pretty much everyone in this list is a victim of the way they've been booked. If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what does. It's true though. No matter how much you want to care about a wrestler, if you're told over and over again that you shouldn't, well, that's what's going to happen. Like if I keep punching you in the face, eventually you're going to realise that there's a good chance I don't like you. Sometimes a rose is a rose, whatever that means. It sucks though, as if used correctly, such talent would be an asset to the WWE. Instead they're kind of just there. And why on earth would anyone opt for that situation? I'm Simon from WhatCulture.com, and this is the 10 WWE wrestlers who are impossible to care about. Number 10, The Ascension. I know The Ascension are good, and I know this because I watched NXT and I watched Southpaw Regional Wrestling. There's a reason they've made it to the big leagues, and it wasn't by accident. The issue is WWE has put no real effort into getting them over since they arrived on the main roster, and that, of course, is a problem. I mean, when they did first get there, they were told to pretend to be the Legion of Doom. That's a death knell straight away and just not thinking to the future at all. Look, it's those guys who think they're the other guys. Sounds awesome. Since then, they've become nothing more than an enhancement team if they show up on TV at all. I really do hope eventually someone starts to build Victor and Connor back up because they could be a great tag team in a company that needs tag teams. I don't get it. Number 9, TJP. Throughout the Cruiserweight Classic, TJP was awesome. His work was great, he got over with the crowd, and seeing him win the thing was nice. It felt like he deserved it and that we should all hope for the best. Then that kind of petered out. While his video game gimmick had some potential, lines such as, "You need to hit the hard reset," did not. Just because games are your gimmick doesn't mean you should speak in game talk. That's ridiculous, and the crowd saw through it instantly. From there it was again just how he was used. His feud with Brian Kendrick sort of just ended, and since then he's been booked to lose, and finally lose. When that happens, people do tend to tune out eventually. TJP has all the talent in the world, and instead he's just a guy in 205 Live at the moment. Madness. Number 8, Mickie James. This one I will never understand. On Raw right now, you have one of the best female workers there ever was, and she's barely ever seen. At this point, Mickie James may as well be a ghost. In fact, that's a good gimmick. Make her a ghost, WWE. As of me saying these words, she hasn't even got to double figures in terms of how many matches she's wrestled since moving to the Red brand, even though she has proven she's still great in the ring. She had that weird Twitter feud with Emma, and even then, we didn't get to see the tweet. So WWE couldn't even be bothered to get her to write 140 characters. As such, Mickie has fallen out of a lot of people's minds now, and that's the worst thing that can happen, because when you pop back up, nobody knows why. This should be sorted ASAP, really. Stupid. Number 7, Eric Rowan. We've got a really tall dude who looks intimidating and has a crazy beard. Seems like a good base for a wrestler to me, but clearly WWE doesn't agree because Eric Rowan is in no man's land. Admittedly, he's not the most charismatic fish in the pond, but you don't have to be featured, right? Rowan has enough tools to have a role on SmackDown, even if you think he was the weakest link of the Wyatt family. He's still good, he just needs a place, and preferably one that doesn't make him a vintner. The hell was that about? It's just short-sightedness on behalf of WWE, given its roster isn't overly deep right now. Why hang Rowan out to dry? Number 6, Apollo Crews. Suffering from what a lot of performers are on this list, Apollo Crews is another talent who at times just doesn't exist. On occasion we even have Titus brand skits, and his number 1 member, e.g. Apollo, is nowhere to be found. You can't have that level of consistency and expect fans to care. It's not how it works. Cruz has been fighting an uphill battle ever since he left NXT, mind, because he was brought up way too soon. Just think of all the feuds and development he could and should have received down in Florida. By now he'd probably be red hot. He isn't though, and what we have is a very skilled wrestler that doesn't have a hell of a lot going on. Other than that WWE tells him to smile a lot, which is also a bad move. That just annoys the audience. That's the last thing this guy needs. Jeez. Number 5, the Mr Aaj. I was so hyped when Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas joined the Mr Aaj, so I genuinely thought this was WWE's moment of realising they had something to them and shining a spotlight on the pair. That was really dumb of me. The Mr Aaj have become such lackeys at times I forget they're even standing in the ring. They barely have any matches, don't seem to have any connection to each other, and they don't even help out the Miz that much. They kinda just stand there in weird clothing. What's that about? It doesn't help they were booked like jobbers for years either, the worst of this coming when they were lumbered as social outcasts. Again, treat someone like a joke for too long and others will see them as exactly that, even though one is the son of Mr Perfect and the other was a damn good NXT champ. You explain that, because I can't. Number 4, Dolph Ziggler. Dolph is in a very weird position at the moment, mostly because despite being a good wrestler, he's never given any sort of help from the back, or so it seems. I mean, look at his recent gimmick, where he just does different entrances of what other wrestlers are doing. The hell is that? And who's it for? Ultimately, Ziggler's biggest problem was that his pushes were so stop-start, even his own fans became conditioned to thinking eventually these would fizzle out, so they stopped buying in to begin with, which is fair. It's boy who cried wolf syndrome. After a while you stop hoping for better. Dolph has been involved in plenty of duds too, like that Lana stuff, and all of it came together to really put a dampener on his character. Now he too is just kinda there, and he really should have been a main event bigwig. Number 3, Enzo Amore. I would say that Enzo is on the precipice of this at the moment, but you can't say that since he's come up to the main roster he's in a better position now than he was back then. He's gone from super over tag team to a dude on 205 Live. And don't get me wrong, the Cruiserweight division does need his star power, but he has tumbled ever since breaking up with Big Cass, and the fear here is that yes, soon people will stop caring. That's just what seemed to happen on 205 Live. The real issue is these stories about his backstage behaviour, and sure, that's never going to bleed over to the casual audience. That doesn't mean it won't start to hurt how he's treated, however, and if that falls any harder, I would guess most fans start to give up on him. Let's face it too, he is a bit annoying. Just a bit. When I say a bit, I mean a lot. Number 2, Bayley. I mean, it's criminal, right? Bayley has been booked so badly and done so much dumb stuff since coming to Raw, WWE has actually not only turned the fans against her, but now a lot of people just don't care. That is madness. I tell you, madness. You couldn't make this stuff up. This really is a case of poor foresight, however. Just look at some of the things she's been made to do. Admitting she didn't deserve to be women's champion for one. You do know we have ears, WWE, right? And this stuff eventually goes in them and we start to question what we're doing. Clearly thinking the Daniel Bryan approach was the answer here, WWE has gone way too hard with that idea and just pushed Bayley into the gutter. She should be a plucky underdog, but now she's a bit of a joke. Number 1, Bray Wyatt. No surprises here. The Bray Wyatt experiment seems to get weirder by the week, and now every time he pops up on the Titantron on Raw, I think we all groan a bit as nonsense spills out of his mouth. It's a real issue as well because he never says anything of note. When that happens, you will start to tune out. It gets really boring. The problem, of course, are these promos, which have become the same each and every week, and the fact he can never back up what he says. Wyatt always loses. It's a huge shame because he's one of the best guys in the company, and yet WWE seems to think they can do whatever they want with him because he's got a good entrance and is all spooky. It's not true, folks. It's really not true. Know of any other wrestlers who are impossible to care about? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Then head on over to whatculture.com and read some articles, and follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. My name is Simon from What Culture, and I will talk to you again soon.